Okay, we are live. It is Thursday. There she is. I was like, where is Dr. Peabody? Come on, you guys, give her a huge warm welcome. We were like, oh my God. I knew she wouldn't forget, but I thought maybe, sometimes we get patients that want to jabber with us or come in like, right before lunch and they're like, oh, please, please, please. But we always give to them, and that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I was just jumping on. I was just about to say, welcome to another episode of Chiropractic is Sexy. I'm Dr. Paula Ruffin.
I'm Dr. Erica Peabody, and so it's always good to be here. This morning in practice has just been a ton of fun, and I'm laughing because that last patient, she was telling me the story, and she did one of those. She's a collegiate runner. She ended up not taking a scholarship and not running, but she was on the treadmill a couple days ago and she took a wrong step and went flying off the back. She was like, it's just like one of those, the videos that you see on Instagram and TikTok that everyone's laughing about. And she's like, it was so ridiculous. So we were laughing anyway.
Oh my goodness.
I know I could. Yeah. Thank you.
I do want to just welcome everybody in and ask you, please make sure you're subscribing. If you're watching from It's All About the Biology, jump on over to Dr. Paula Ruffin and Dr. Erica Peabody and Chiropractic is Sexy. I know it's a lot, but all the links are down in the show notes, and give us all some page love if you would. And I just want to also say welcome Cake in a Cup, who's in Australia, and it's 4:05 tomorrow. So thanks for being here. Maybe we need to work on that sleep.
Yeah. What are you doing up so late? Early.
Exactly. No, yes.
I also had the other group of patients. I have to just tell you the story. The other group of patients went to Colorado, and I know we're always talking about stress into the nervous system. Now they've been under care. They're at like 500 to 600 visits each. It's a family of 5. They've been here for years. They come every week. They went to Colorado and they've never been. They got high altitude sickness. Everybody got sick. It was so dry. They only got to ski like a fraction of what they were able to do. And they're like, we're healthy. I'm like, next time you need to just say, hey, doc, will you come get coffee with us and help us like figure out how to do this like high altitude thing? I'm like, yes. Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. I think that is, and that's going to segue perfectly into our topic today, because, we're talking about our posture, how it affects our brains, and how our bodies are continuously, our nervous systems, our nervous system has an inability to heal if it feels that it's that it's unsafe. And so posture affects the nervous system and the brain dramatically. And so we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that today, and just tell you guys, like, what are you doing when you're on your phone? What are you doing when you're on your computer? What are you doing when you're just constantly looking down? All of that puts compression and stress onto the nervous system, and it creates a threat. The body perceives it as a threat. And so we're going to talk about some of these little things that we do each and every day that you might think it's not any big deal, but your nervous system is like, I'm not safe. And I can't heal because of it.
Part of that. So when we think about the death and dying position, all you have to do is just do this, and you're an older person, and then you just put the phone like that. There you go.
Yeah, that arc. Yeah,
you're headed like literally right into the grave that way. But also, it as soon as we bend our head forward like that, the brain swells. Like, no, thank you for brain swelling. And no, thank you for 2-year-olds on phones and 3-year-olds on phones and 10-year-olds on phones and anybody on phones, but especially those growing spines. Their brains are swelling. Their body's flooded with stress chemicals when that's happening. And that all has to do with just the posture alone.
And we get into this, all these people running around saying, I have ADD, I have ADHD. And I would guarantee you I could probably name 10 things that you could do to help improve that scenario today. One of them being chiropractic care. And then there's a multitude of other things that we could go into. Right. But the first thing is when you are not getting, that's blood flow through the nervous system. It's nerve flow to the brain. And then you get inflammation. And I always refer to it as brain on fire. And this is where our brain fog comes from, our poor sleep, our inability to think clearly, our inability to have a balanced mood. Our moods are all over the place. It becomes this, and then we, as a society, we've normalized a lot of these behaviors because we can put them into clusters and we can give them drugs. And then people think that those behaviors are normal because they're managed with medication. And that is just not the case. So let's talk about why you got there to begin with. And also, as Dr. Erica said, we've got to stop exposing our kids to these horrible postures. And when I get young kids in here and they are just curled up in a C, even just not even on a phone, kids are just so used to just being all hunched over. And you know what else they have? They have asthma. They have allergies. They have claim to have ADD. They have digestive problems. They have anxiety. They have depression. They're not sleeping properly. They have social anxiety. And when you compress the spine and nervous system like that, you're going to affect everything neurologically. So you got to sit up straight. You just got to get up there.
So I am, growing up I was probably 5'10" when I was in 7th grade. I mean, I've been 5'10" from the age that I was about 12. So that makes me very tall. Growing up, especially through middle school, like there were three of us that were really tall. So our moms used to say, put your shoulders back, stand up straight, blah, 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 like all of that. But what I always tell my patients, instead of like jacking your shoulders back, when you walk around in the world, and I have kind of a cool asymmetrical shirt on. So, but if you can just walk around in the world with as much of the side body showing as possible. So that's not just like, put your shoulders back. It's like you kind of have to get your core involved. You have to get a lot more pieces than just your shoulders back when you're thinking about having as much of that front side body showing in front of the arm as possible. And then as you're moving through the world, it gives you just a different feeling and a different visual and a different like kinesthetic feeling than just put a quarter between your shoulder blades and hold it there all day. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's a little more palatable if you say just have as much of the side body showing as possible.
My mom, when I was growing up, my mom took modeling lessons. She always wanted to be a model, and she was certainly beautiful enough. She absolutely could have. She was Miss Charleston, West Virginia. But anyway, and so she would always make us walk around with books on our heads. It was that era, when they talked about, good posture was the ability to hold a book, walk across the room with a book on your head. Yeah. And I don't know that I was ever a slouchy child. I don't ever recall being a sloucher.
No, because you're like this on me. So you're like trying to keep up with the world.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
No, but actually I went to modeling school as well when I was in high school. It was the very best thing my mom could have done for me because I was riding horses and I needed to develop my confidence with a horse as well, but also like just the way that I carry myself has so much to do with Barbizon modeling school.
Barbizon, oh my God. Did you go back to 1985 and pull out that name?
I sure did.
Oh my gosh.
Sure. But it really was. They taught us so much about poise and how to carry the body because this structure as a teenager can get very awkward. I was also always an athlete, so that always helped. But between like when I went to modeling school, my horseback riding got better because the way that I just presented in the world was just more confident, and that helped all the way around. Like, it's interesting to listen to my mom talk about it because I think it was like one weekend a month was like 2 solid full days, had to go down to Southfield, wherever that school was, drive myself.
That's where I lived. We used to drive by it every day.
Okay. So I was there for.
You drove from Fenton to Southfield?
I did.
That was forever because we didn't have a freeway back then either.
Yeah, there was a freeway, silly. No, I took my horse and buggy.
No, I mean 696 wasn't built yet.
I think
696 wasn't built until 1991 or 2.
Okay. Yep.
So you had to get off at Orchard Lake and take the surface roads. That's what I mean.
I think I took 59 down. I think I took 59 down. And it must have been my junior year because I was driving. That's when I would have turned 16. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Barb was
There's no easy way to get there. Let's just say that.
Anyway, structure matters because structure affects function. So structure, the way that the bones are sitting on top of another, is the way that the brain is designed. Like it only has so much of a connection. It's almost like if you have a telephone wire and it's only so long, and then you pull it into this posture, like it's stretched to the extent. So if it was sitting up straight, it's got more slack in the lines and more ability to communicate and more just space in general. So the spine is like that. Like we can't overwhelm it with this posture when it's designed this way. We don't have a lot of extra space to send those lines out.
Yeah. And that's when you can start to make this decision of what messaging do I want to send to my brain? Do I want to send some kind of distorted signal? Do I want to send a clear signal? And again, starting to think about how you move in your day, how you sit at your desk. I noticed yesterday I was working on some accounting, and after a couple of hours, I mean, and my shoulders are still kind of sore, although I did shoulders at the gym yesterday too. But the whole point is like when you're sitting there for a long time and you're concentrating and it's intense, that also is a very fear-based, you're like this, you're just, and so you've got to get up and move around. You have to be able to stretch. You have to be able to just be kind to the positioning so that you're not, you're not becoming a victim of that, because then you want to be able to relax. You want to be able to communicate with your family. You want to be able to think clearly, maybe work on a project. So it's so critical that if you are somebody who has poor posture, or looking at your children, if they have poor posture, and let's just talk about this from besides the neurological aspect, it's not a power posture.
Right.
When this slouched posture, this is a very weak, very weak posture. You don't exude confidence. It's not an attractive posture, meaning like, if I saw a guy slouching like that, I wouldn't be attracted to him, number one. But it also is like, just think of friends and, people, like if you're trying to make friends and you're like this, but if you're like up and moving around and you're standing tall and you're moving around and you've got some energy coming off of you, that's I would say socially attractive. Right. Mm-hmm. So, I'm just thinking of like the young kids, the young teenagers who, some people might have some social anxiety. Well, you know what? Sit up straight. It changes the way your facial expression it changes your facial expression. It changes your body expression. It changes the energy that comes off of you, and it becomes more attractive to the outside world.
It actually, and neurologically, deep in the neurology, when you lift your sternum, so your breastbone, I guess I could call it as well. When you take your sternum and you lift it 2 millimeters, it's this posture, like the Wonder Woman posture. Like she stood in a lot of power. I'm just speaking from a woman's perspective, but that Wonder Woman posture where you lift the sternum 2 millimeters changes the entire chemistry, the chemistry that's going on in the brain. It changes the neurotransmitters, it changes the mood, it changes all of that. So not only are you energetically from an outside in looking a lot more powerful, it really is changing the actual brain chemistry. I know you see elderly patients too. I tend to have a really nice blend of like newborn babies and elderly and kind of everyone in between. But some of the simplest things that I tell the women to do is when you go to stand up, like don't do this kind of standing up, like stand up, squeeze
Right.
your butt. The biggest muscles we have in our body are our booty muscles. And when we do that, when we squeeze the back, it relaxes the front so we can stand up straighter. But if we can do that, it starts to deliver messages from the brain down to the feet. And the most important thing for the elderly is to make sure the brain's connected with the entire body, but in specifically your lower extremities and outward extremities, just in general. I mean, both your upper and lower, but the lower extremities, like that is so critical for moving.
I have a patient who has Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And we're doing all the things. We're doing chiropractic, cold laser, and functional medicine. She's like, I want to be able to think. I want to sleep. I want to, she's on medication. She doesn't want to be on the medication. And she has this long history. And what's interesting is going through the history and saying, yeah, that 20 years ago wasn't a coincidence. That is related to today.
Right.
So just as a reminder, that's why we like to talk about this stuff, because what you're experiencing today could be, looking into your future. But she said to me, I was making sure she's doing her exercises, and she said, I was doing my squats the other day, and I said, okay. I said, I want you to show me. And she was doing them, and I don't know. Oh, she said she like hurt her leg. I don't know, something hurt her about it. And I said, show me what you're doing. And she was, so I always have her hold on to the back of the chair. And then when she first did it, she was doing okay when I first showed her when she first came in. But then what she was doing is she was just bending. She thought she was bending her knees, but she was just bending her trunk up and down. And I said, well, that can be okay for some lower back strengthening. And I said, but you're not strengthening your legs. So I had her do chair squats. And I said, you have to sit, touch your bum, and stand up. Don't come down and rest. I mean, if you have to, but sit, touch your bum, stand up, and do that 10 times instead of trying to, have a chair in front of her if she's a little wobbly. But the whole point is that the lower extremities, and especially as we get older, and especially if your brain is on fire, you're going to lose your balance and coordination. And so opening up that communication so that you have greater clarity to the balancing centers of your body. And then you're stronger. So you're strengthening the muscles, you're strengthening yourself neurologically. So maybe if you trip, it's not about falling, it's about catching yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we forget. And I also think as women, we get into this place of women get into their probably about the 50s is what I've noticed, is that once they get into their 50s, they're like suddenly that I'm afraid of falling. Mm-hmm. Well, when did you stop doing the things that were critical to keep you strong, balanced, and coordinated, that then put the fear of falling into your head? And I mean, none of us want to fall, but we have to make sure that we're optimizing everything we possibly can so that we don't end up in a fall.
It's so interesting. This was the question, but I had the greatest conversation with a patient yesterday, and I think she's mid 70s yesterday. And she said, if things don't show, this is a really interesting way she put it. If things don't show up until 2 weeks later, because she was out kayaking and she was out like living life, right? She's out kayaking. And then it was like 2 weeks later, her lumbar spine from, a certain point down was irritated. And she was pretty convinced it was from like a psoas spasm, or like, when you're sitting in that position and you're doing that thing, the psoas takes, she's like, how do I know what to do and what not to do when things don't show up for 2 weeks? I'm like, that is such a great question. I'm like, we don't know what to do or not to do, but what we can always, and you guys, I say this every freaking time: eat well, move well, think well, drink your water, get your rest, and get adjusted. And that's all we can ever do, as well as listening to the body along the way, right? So I said, your body, as she wants to be independent and she wants to be a goat, and she is a go-getter. I mean, if you met her, you'd be like, whoa, who, what? But she's been an athlete her whole life, and she's out trekking and hiking and all this stuff. And so she said, she's like, I want to be independent as long as I possibly can. I'm like, yes, apply to everybody. But what can you do today? The only thing we can is eat well, move well, think well, drink your rest, get your water, drink your water, get your rest, get adjusted, and push the limits of the body. In yoga, Dr. Paul and I are both avid yogis for, I don't know, 3 decades at this point for me. There's a line with the body, and the body, we should be pushing that line. Aging is the constant and continuous pursuit of comfort, right? So that's a Brecka line, Gary Brecka. But when we're pushing that line, we're pushing our comfort just a little bit each day, but not pushing beyond. So that's why I was talking to her. I'm like, we have to listen to the body. Structure leads to function. We have to stand up, get everything up underneath us. Don't start moving till your posture's nice and strong. Get going, keep moving. And she said, if you guys are in Michigan, like, it's tough, right? So she said, my husband and I decided yesterday, she said, we're just going to put our gear on and we're just going to walk outside and we're going to be outside. We told ourselves we'll just give it 5 minutes if we need to turn around. She said, by 5 minutes, we felt great. We did another 25 minutes. And she's like, we came back and we were on fire, lit on fire for the day. But I'm like, I'm just so proud of the people that are asking these questions. How do I know what's going to hurt me 2 weeks from now? We don't. We never do. Right. We have to do the things every day. And we never get to.
I have 2 scenarios where once I woke up and I felt like my hand was broken. And then the second time this was just a couple weeks ago, I woke up and my ankle was swollen. I felt like I sprained it. Right. So again, I could have woken up and be like,
crazy dreams, Dr. Paula.
I know, right? I'm like, did I just sleep wrong or what?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But I also then have to go back to the fact that there's menopause, there's hormonal changes. Maybe there was some dietary shifts. I don't know. But also I broke this hand 15 years ago. I've sprained my ankle 1,000,000 times over the years. So when we have stressors that do want to sort of take over our body like that, it's probably going to go to those weakest areas, previously injured areas, chronically stressed areas. And so you have to think about it from that perspective, is that sometimes it doesn't take much to get the glass to spill. And that's a lot of times, people are like, I woke up and I just slept wrong. Well, no, but this was building up for a while. So, yeah. So it's great. It's great. Yeah. We don't know, but we just have to continue the constant and continuous pursuit of good health.
Right.
So that when that happens, you're not a victim of it. It's not going to hit you for very long or very hard.
Right. I had this patient on the table right before this as well. Actually, it was probably like 7 visits. I had a family of 5, a single, and then it was right before the family of 5. And we're going through her MRI results, and she does have a chronic degenerative disease. And I don't want to even call who it is out at all. Like, that's not even my point to even call the disease what it is. And so I said, because you have this going on, I said, what are you eating? Like, she's not a fruitarian, but she's a fruitaholic. And so degenerative disease processes, although she's not doing processed food, she's having a banana every day, multiple apples every day, like all of this stuff. And I'm like, all of this is feeding that, even though it's natural, all of this is feeding that, and it's overwhelming your system. And she's like, because one day it's this, and it's the great mimicking disease anyway. One day it's this, and one day it's that, and one day I can do this, and one day I can't, and it just goes back and forth, and I don't know what's triggering it. And then so we started chatting, and I was like, that natural sugar, even though it's natural, should not be in your system at the level that it is. I want you to take all of that, dismiss it, and go to all greens and maybe berries. And that's about it. No, not one more banana. Are you kidding me? Like, oh my God.
Isn't it crazy? I have a patient coming in today. I had a consultation with them a couple weeks ago, and he's got Alzheimer's. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And, he said, I'm not the same man I used to be. Used to be very, just great speaker, very involved in the community. And, he knew what he wanted to say, but he couldn't get the words to connect to his mouth. So it's really heartbreaking. But, so I was asking about diet, and he said he eats a banana because his wife was like, well, you get your potassium. You eat a banana every day.
Potassium.
Oh my God. He eats a banana and he does honey and something in the morning, every morning. You guys, that is major blood sugar, like not crash, but spike.
That's like a bomb. That's like a sugar bomb.
Yeah. And unless you're going to the gym or you're going to go run or you work on a farm or you're doing some kind of heavy lifting where you're burning that off, that is not what you should be doing at all. That is not a good practice. And I'm not sure where that whole take honey first thing in the morning concept came from. I would say big honey, but
right. Yeah. No, it's
a bare aspirin every day.
It's wild. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this over the last, especially the first few weeks of the year, this year. It's like, if you're looking for health, get your butt into a chiropractic office. If you're looking for diet help, get your butt into a chiropractic office. If you're looking for movement health, get your butt into a chiropractic office. If you're looking for overall health and wellness, get your butt into a chiropractic office. And if you're not, you're just seriously doing yourself a disservice. You just are. And there's no way around it because, we talked a little bit about the food pyramid getting flipped on its head. Like, what else needs to be flipped on its head? One of my mentors was talking like, if this is exactly backwards, like what other things that are along those government guidelines are exactly backwards? Probably a lot of it. And so we need to just be searching for health answers in the right health places. And that's why we're here every week for sure. And happy to answer questions throughout the time too. And even when we're not here, and come into our offices or let us help you find somebody, because it's the place where the answers are. So anyway.
Well, and when we talk about yoga, and there's a little conversation going on here about horse pose, which in yoga we call that goddess pose. And Cake in a Cup says I could have gone my whole life without knowing I had some of those muscles. But that it's an incredible posture. And I know you also said it really hurts, which means you got to do it because that posture is so important. When you're in horse or goddess, guess what you're doing? You can't slouch in those postures. You have to be upright, which also is why Dr. Eric and I love yoga so much, because it really teaches you, it helps combine what we're doing with chiropractic and then what we're doing through yoga with the neurological strength, again, the balance, the coordination, the flexibility, the functionality, the mindset. And it forces you to really tap into where your posture should be. And so when you do things like that, you have to be training yourself also to stand up straight. And of course, in yoga, when we're doing goddess, we put our arms up like this and we put our arms back. And so again, that's opening up and it's strengthening the back side of the body so that we can sit up straighter. And then when you go to sit down, you are less likely to want to slouch because you've been training those muscles in a way that they don't want to let you slouch now.
Yeah.
It becomes now second nature. You don't have to think about sitting up straight. This now becomes your normal.
And people say, when I sit up straight, my back gets sore. That means you have very weak postural muscles. Mm-hmm. And that means you need to work on them even more. And it can be as simple as, it would be awesome if everybody on here decided that they would want to take up yoga and go a couple times a week as well. And if you can't, there's so much that you can do at home with even just the simple laying on your belly and lifting and working the entire erector combination of muscles right down the back, like basically your back straps as well as what between your shoulder blades and all of that. Like if you can just start activating that side of the body rather than activating this side of the body, you're going to have a whole
this
lot.
Side gets way too much. The back body, no, not so much.
Yeah.
And when we look at people, we look at posture, we're judging you. Just so
we're
you know.
judging you. If you're at the store and we're at the store and we're watching you, we're judging you. And there's like we literally
we're judging how you walk. We're judging what's in your cart. We're judging.
You want to be like, have you seen a chiropractor yet? Have you seen a chiropractor yet? You should go to my office. We would never do that because I don't really. I mean, I only want to care as much as we care about themselves. That's how much I'm going to care. But that's what we literally could be. Bentley, what's the dealio? So anyway, if you guys just literally just go around and look out into the stores or out in your world, and you can see that. Paula, we probably need to wrap it up anyway here. We just have a couple minutes. We're already to 40 almost. So anyway, just looking around, looking at the stores. Yes, we're judging your cart. Yes, we're judging your posture. Yes, we're judging. But mostly because we really want this world to be a little bit more aware that that structure leads to better function. So, oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, something's going on because you're not showing you're on mute, but it's
Am I
not
unmuted now?
There you
go. Okay. Stop.
But it's almost 1:40 already. So.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll call it at that. But great chat today. Thank you, everybody, for jumping into the comments. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and all the things. I'll see you on Sunday for Sunday Night Live, and we'll see you back here next Thursday. See you guys.
Peace.